Malachi, I never get tired of how you do these main events. I never get tired of it. How did you know what the area code was for Miami?
I got so much useless knowledge up here, you wouldn't believe it.
Case in point, I'll keep that one in mind as Rosey comes out, starts making quick work of that agility, slipping around Betty and catching her with a thrust kick from behind. She might be out cold already.
Rosey is a former champ for a reason, going in for the camel clutch, already starting this at 11.
Well, you absolutely got to, especially after everything that was said, the words that were said, the back and forth, the setup of the fight. The fight didn't go through. The setup of the fight, like there's a lot of tension between these two, and now nothing can be left at the table. Betty's got to come through and work hard to try to take back this momentum because right now Rosey is showing exactly why she was the women's world champion.
Absolutely. This has all been building for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's finally come to a head. So much has passed over the last few weeks, and this is going to be a slobber knocker for sure.
Absolutely good reversal on Betty's part, taking control, locking in the headlock from the side. And you're absolutely correct. And this is really what it's going to come down to in the end is ultimately just who's got that much more to give. Rosey is just, I mean, we've seen it all out of her, but her greatest strength is her momentum. And we've seen her struggle when that gets taken away from her. Betty, on the other hand, an expert in reversals, a technical mind herself. So this is going to be really good question of who can outmaneuver the other. But that is a good play on her part. Rosey starting to lay in on those chops quick and fast. And now it looks like we going back and forth. We got a chop fest, y'all. Betty coming back hard. Laying in the combination kick to the gut. Running back. V-trigger off the ropes. V-trigger off the ropes, but not going for the pinfall. Instead, trying to grab the leg, start kicking against the thigh. Good strategy on Betty's part. The girl needs her speed to fly, and she does not want to let that get away from her. Elbow drop to the knee to leave her in place. And now immediately to follow, taking that leg, locking in the figure four. I would not want to be one fighting down on Stormtrooper gear, but she has definitely got her work cut out for her. Steve checking to see if she wants to tap or give up. She says no. Betty holding just a second longer before relinquishing. And I'm noticing that to be a growing trend in our roster tonight. But hold on, small package roll up. Betty's down, shoulders are down, only good for one. And it looks like that is not enough. Breaking out. That was a dangerous, quick maneuver on Rosey Scott's part. Nearly took the win just as quickly as she had lost momentum.
With a wrestler like Rosey, any gap,
absolute insanity as she pops back up. Betty going off the ropes to rush at Rosey Scott, who seems to be poised, trying to read the room, definitely getting her mind locked in to try and get a counter, and she does. Roundhouse kick to the head. Down goes Betty.
As I was saying, with a warrior like Rosey, any chink in the armor, she will find it and she will exploit it. She is an absolute professional.
Absolute professional indeed, as she comes in for 1, 2, 3 leg drops on the blonde bomber. Ooh, and a double foot stomp to boot. I would not want to know how much more weight is added on in that Stormtrooper padding.
Even if it's just EVA foam cosplay stuff, that's a lot of weight, a lot of extra leverage, and just beef behind the kick.
Absolutely. And it's wild to me that after all of that momentum, only good for a one count Betty, not even giving her the courtesy of two before breaking the hold. Might be a bit of mind games coming out of Betty's part. Now getting sent off to the opposite corner. Dogs revving her engines. You know how it is. That's exactly the game that we are going to be playing. And she comes in, head full of steam, rushing in, corner splash, running back again, still charging 50 miles an hour. Betty coming back once more, coming in, another corner splash. She's not done, ladies and gentlemen. She's running back to the other corner. She's coming back in, head full of steam. Whew, I can't talk fast enough. As she charges in. Wait, now the third one. She does not. Betty gets out of the way. Coming off the ropes before Betty gets, Rosey gets a chance to respond. Oh my God, ow, my lungs. As she comes in, boom, atomic big boot, down goes Rosey.
Rosey went to the well just one too many times there. And that was just a face plant into the corner and just made even worse by Betty's just flurry of offense. Goes in for the snake eyes. Ow.
You are absolutely correct in that. And Betty reading well into Rosey's arsenal. Rosey Scott is notorious for relying on those combinations. Repetition is what helps her build her momentum. It's also what gets her in trouble. Springboard wheel kick off the top rope.
That kind of kick, when you take it, it just knocks your teeth into next week. And she follows it up with some stomps to the center of her torso, just knocking the breath out of Rosey's chest.
Absolutely. Rosey going to need to go back to the drawing board on this one. She can't get away with a lot of the same strategy that she's run before. Betty Hiess locking in with the Nagata lock, trying to force Rosey to tap. Again, notice she is targeting those legs very noticeably this fight.
It is well known that Rosey's offense definitely favors attacks with the legs, and those beautiful little peats of hers, they're just writhing in pain.
I'd probably be more concerned about the shins and the lower leg that's connected to it, because that's really what's getting wrenched hard right now as she crawls her way over, gets the ropes. Betty relinquishing after just a second extra to hold on.
What was once the Rosey Scott show has turned on its head, and Betty is just pressing the advantage. Let them hear you if you're loving it. Let them hear you in the back.
Absolutely vicious chop from Betty, but it looks like all it's done is piss off Rosey, who comes back with a combo of her own fierce DDT to finish. Betty looking like she wasn't ready.
Now, you writing poetry over here, that is definitely real, my man.
Look, I told you, I keep it real 100%. Y'all ain't gonna get nothing different out of me, so if I'm gonna come out with my own lyrics, Big Poppy, sit your ass down. I know how to spit. I say as I stutter and completely ruin all my credibility. Never mind. Have a good night, everybody.
After that last bit, he's certainly not shaking in those Lampa-feetsies of his.
I hate that you just said that. That is not real at all. But looking at the momentum as they sprint back and forth at each other, can't quite hit him. Wait, no, wheelbarrow bulldog. Rosey gets the hit. And now in for the cover. Referee charging in for a 1, in for a 2, kick out at 2.
Rosey definitely showing she's got some temper out there. She is letting out a growl, and let me tell you, I got the goosebumps over here.
Well, you got to keep in mind, Rosey ain't always been the sweet and sunshine that we know her to be now. She has definitely known how to dip into the ruthless, to dip into the aggression. And when she needs to just go power for power, she's not afraid to do it. And she's literally throwing hands right now in the center of the ring. Girls trading punches. We got ourselves a flat-out brawl.
Goes right in for the cutter, puts her down on the mat, gets her back up, and goes in with a kick to the midsection.
It's insane to me as we await. Oh my goodness, Canadian Destroyer putting a little bit of air on that. Betty down, in for the cover. One, and she kicks out at one.
And with authority.
And how? This is turning into a game of just how much you've got in the arsenal, because what happens when you run out of ammunition?
You just start beating them with the gun, Adrian. You start beating them with a gun.
Well, pistol whipping, inverted atomic drop from Betty Hiess right as she gets picked up. But now, belly to belly, sending her right back.
Just like the saying goes, it's not the dog size of the man in the race. It's the man who raced the dog that matters.
Who says that? Who said any of that? Where are you getting these metrics from? Oh my God, Tiger backflip on the back end of a vicious combo from Betty Hiess going in for the cover. 1, 2, only good for 2.
These two fighters are so evenly matched. It's going to take a mistake from one of them for the other to actually be able to get out the win.
Now it is Rosey's turn to be on the back end of a coast-to-coast. Betty charging in. European uppercut right on the comm side corner. Oh no, now she's locking her in. Coming in for the Venom bomb drop.
That has got to hurt, but I couldn't complain about the view.
When you take a cutter like that after being put in a trio of woe position, all I can say is you are in for a penny, in for a pound.
A pound, or is that a pounding?
That's the question, and I think we're about to see the answer. Front face lock coming in into a fisherman suplex driver. We are in for the cover. 1, 2, and she kicks out.
These two titans of the ring are going at it, hammer and thongs, and it is just not over. This match will continue.
I'm gonna ask this question right now as Rosey comes in, starts trying to hammer back with the super kicks. Did you just say the hammer and the thong? Is that the quote we're making?
I think you and Mags might be sharing the same brainwave there, Adrian.
No, I'm asking you what you said. I didn't say. I'm asking you what you said. Audience liking what they see. Rosey sending Betty off to the ropes. It is not looking good for Betty Hiess, excuse me, as she comes back in. Tiger feint kick, giving me the shades of Rey Mysterio, because she caught all of that.
Orle, she's going up to the top.
Up to the top, down with a kill shot.
Rosey really showing us how a dog fights out there. She's going at it, but you can't take anything away from Betty either. This match could still go either way.
You're absolutely right. Rosey trying to keep that advantage maintained, coming in, locking in her own figure 4. Whoa, and immediately, wasting no time, transitioning to a figure 8. Look at the agony on Betty's face.
Steve is checking in on Betty, asking if she submits. She says no.
I don't blame her. All that work she's put in. She doesn't want to say goodbye now. This is her opportunity, and she intends to take it. Rosey relinquishing the hold. Coming back in for a more direct approach. Quick stomp to the upper body. Coming back in, looking like she's ready to go in for more punishment. And it's off to the ropes, and a shotgun dropkick from Betty Hiess might not have been the play for Rosey. The plan she had in action does not come to fruition. Betty just a little bit faster on the trigger.
And just like that, the turns have tabled once more.
Not my turns. My turn still got fajitas on it, which I need to finish eating.
Betty gets her up and goes, straight into a suplex right onto the back. Oh my goodness, that's gotta hurt.
Absolutely, and Betty Hiess excelling in these types of moves when the moment comes, saying it's time for the boom. Rosey just a hair lighter, a touch shorter than Betty Hiess. This seems to be really up in Betty's playhouse right now as Rosey gets back up, not all there, and Betty coming right up behind, in for the napalm. She has landed the napalm on Rosey Scott, in for the cover. 1, 2, so now she kicks out of the napalm.
I do not remember the last time I've seen anyone kick out of the napalm, and Rosey did it in the center of the ring. No help from the ropes, just pure force of will.
We'll keep that in mind, though, because Betty is absolutely not focusing on Rosey, but instead taking her attention right over to Steve, saying that there was no way that she kicked out, even though by some miracle Rosey got it together. Now, keep in mind, Malachi, at the earlier part of Betty Hiess' career with Honor Pro Wrestling, she's had this same trouble before. The napalm, it could not land, or she landed, but it couldn't maintain itself, and that became the source of her frustration for such a long time, but leaving herself open and vulnerable and catching a stunner for her troubles, this could be dangerous for Betty!
She took her eye off the fajita for just one moment, and Rosey turns the tables again.
Not before getting dropped herself. All of that was just a spur of the moment thing, but Rosey still needs to reset herself. She needs a chance to get herself back together. I don't know what more can be done. Betty looking to be a bit of a vulnerable position right now, but no, sudden jawbreaker completely breaks free as Betty Hiess runs away off to the ropes to rebound back. Oh no. And now she's getting her up and in for the Hiess bomb. 1, 2, 3, and that is it. Close 3 count at that. You saw the hole get broken, but a second too late.
Absolutely. Honor Pro Wrestling, your winner of tonight's main event by pinfall, the Blonde Bomber, Betty Hiess.
Just a brief moment to celebrate, and she collapses under her own fatigue. She got the win, but goodness knows she did not leave unscathed. Rosey, for her part, just absolutely distraught in herself that she had the moment. Rosey just not quite fast enough to take it.
There were many points in that match that it could have gone either way, and it just so happened that Betty was able to land that last blow and hold it just long enough. They are shaking hands in the center of the ring. Yay, sportsmanship, especially after all we've seen